Hey yo, it's your girl the Just Tribe and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome to my channel. If this is the first time seeing my face or knowing of my existence, please feel free to stick around and click that subscribe button. As per usual, it is Monday. You guys know what that is, and if you don't, it is Crime and Conviction Day. And Crime and Conviction is a series on my channel where I speak about Jamaican true crime. You see me? I change that up every week, guys. Forgive me. Anywho, if true crime is not your cup of tea, that is fine. I have other videos on my channel that you might find interesting. However, if it is your cup of tea, hello and welcome to the family. Last week we spoke about Lee Boyd Malvo. If you haven't seen that, go and check it out. And this week we will be speaking about Theodore Johnson. So without further ado, let us jump right in. So guys, I always leave my sources in my description box. So if you guys want to read up on the story yourselves, you can. So let us jump into Mr. Johnson's story, which to be honest, it was preventable. But I will save my comments for the end of the video. Theodore Johnson was born in 1954, one of 11 children working on a banana plantation. I didn't find much about his 27 years in Jamaica, but he did meet his wife, Yvonne Johnson, here. She migrated to the United Kingdom, and he shortly after followed in the 1980s. Yvonne and Theodore had two sons together who migrated with them. On May 18th, 1981, an argument started between the couple. Yvonne didn't think Theodore was dressed well enough for church. And as you know, in the black community, church attire is something taken very seriously, hence the phrase Sunday's best. During the argument, it is said that Yvonne threatened to kill him, threw a book at him, and then an ashtray. They fought for the ashtray, which Mr. Johnson then used on her after wrestling it away. He hit her over the head with the ashtray, then a vase, then he threw her off the balcony of their 9th floor apartment. After falling 9 floors down, Yvonne died. Mr. Johnson was arrested. At the 3-day trial, he initially faced a murder charge, but after, he was handed a lesser charge of manslaughter. He claimed extensive provocation during his marriage. He was painted as a battered husband, and size came into play as Yvonne was a bigger woman, but Mr. Johnson was slender. The court heard from Theodore that he was bullied into doing housework and cooking. Before sentencing, the judge told Theodore, and I quote, "You have led a good and decent life, and you are not a violent man. You have been a good father to your 2 young boys, and I am satisfied that what happened because of the deep provocation you have been put to." On November 4th, 1981, Theodore Johnson was sentenced to just serve 3 years in prison. By 1986, 5 years after the first murder, and 2 years after serving his sentence, Theodore was with a new woman. She was a home care worker named Yvonne Bennett. They were together for 6 years and shared a daughter. I'm not quite sure what happened to his sons from his first marriage, but there was no further mention of them anywhere that I looked. Then came 1992, when Miss Bennett started an affair with her co-worker. She said Mr. Johnson's violent and controlling nature pushed her into the arms of another man. After an argument one evening, Miss Bennett ended the relationship and Theodore left the shared home. He began stalking her and at one point had to be removed by the police days before her death. September 20th, 1992. Mr. Johnson returned to the home, begging Miss Bennett to take him back. She rejected him and the box of chocolates that he had offered her. This angered him. Theodore strangled her with a belt while their 2-year-old daughter was sleeping in another room. He phoned the police to confess and then tried to hang himself from a tree, but that was unsuccessful. Doctors found him to be suffering from deep depression and had severe personality disorder. He pled guilty to manslaughter on March 5th, 1993. He was found guilty and sent to a mental institution. 2 years after he was institutionalized, Theodore was allowed to attend a furniture restoration course 2 days out of the week unattended. This is where he met Angela Best. She was a 26-year-old mother of 4. In October 1997, Theodore was discharged from the hospital. Theodore was to let authorities know of any relationships with women so that these women can be informed of his past convictions. Unsurprisingly, Theodore did not do this. Theodore and Angela carried on their relationship for 20 years and she remained unaware of his past crimes. One day, Angela found letters containing the details of the killings of one of Theodore's past partners. Angela ended the relationship and moved on. During their relationship, Theodore was abusive, controlling, and unfaithful. Angela's new love was described as a godsend, and this was the happiest her family has ever seen her. Theodore would occasionally show up at Angela's house in attempts to win her back. Angela decided to keep things friendly, therefore they remained friends. On December 15th, 2016, Angela decided to help Theodore with an appointment at the Jamaican embassy. Angela showed up at Theodore's apartment. Shortly after entering the house, she was attacked with a claw hammer and then strangled. Later that day, Theodore threw himself in front of an oncoming train at the Cheshunt railway station in attempts to kill himself. He survived, however, he lost his right arm and left hand. After this incident, police entered 64-year-old Mr. Johnson's apartment in hopes of finding his next of kin. Unfortunately and unexpectedly, what they found was the lifeless body of Angela Best. After weeks of intensive treatment, Mr. Johnson was arrested on January 19th, 2017. A year later, his trial started, and for the 3rd time, Theodore claimed it was manslaughter. Surprisingly, he later changed his plea to guilty for the murder charge. On January 5th, 2018, Theodore was sentenced to a minimum of 26 years. The judge in this case, the case that finally got it right, said, and I quote, "The attack by you on Angela Best was sustained, vicious, and utterly brutal. She suffered an unimaginably terrible death. Such repeated offending, resulting in 3 separate court cases, must be almost unprecedented." You know, when this case was probably brought to this judge was probably shocked and was so confused and blown out the water when they realized that 35 years and this man killed 2 of his past partners. How was this man allowed to kill a 3rd? A mother of 4? Like, it is crazy. Now 7 children are left without mothers. 3 of these children are his. So he took away his own children's mothers, which is mind-blowing to me. I don't understand how he was let out the first time, and I definitely do not understand how he was let out the second time. How does it take 3 deaths, 3 murders for you to realize that this man is dangerous? For me, 1 is enough. Johnson's defense team did say that he was abused by his father in Jamaica. That's why he had these later in life actions, which I do not buy. They also said that he hates himself. He does not want to be alive. So I do think that Johnson trying to kill himself, it was just a cop-out. Easily a cop-out. He just did not want to face the consequences of his actions. I also think that he had some mental issues, but it's the state's fault that he was allowed to take away 2 more mothers. It's just unbelievable. I do find it ironic that he attempted to kill himself and he lost both arms. Like, I'm not upset about that. There's not much I can say about this case. I mean, it's very cut and dry. There was no psychiatric report that I found that I could have read or any updates that I found on him. But I'm really satisfied with the end result, that there was no leniency this time around. But I am very, very disappointed that this man was allowed to cause havoc, to destroy 3 separate families. Anyways, guys, that is it for the case. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any opinions, I know you do, please leave them down in the comments. I want to read them. I love to read them. I will be linking my sources in my description box. My social media handles are down there as well if you want to check me out elsewhere. And as per usual, remember to be a beautiful soul, not just a gorgeous face. And until next time, my next video next Monday, mwah, bye. During